If you are interested in becoming a stay-at-home mom, you want to stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing exactly how you can afford to do it. Hey guys, it's Fo from MamaAndMoney.com, where I teach you how to make and manage money to become financially free. Now, if you are a mom, which you likely are if you're watching this video, you've had the thought of maybe wanting to come home from your corporate career. There's something about a newborn child or even a growing and developing toddler or even a teenager that makes you want to take a step back so that you can watch those moments and be a part of it and not necessarily have to miss out on it. But here's the sticker about it: you have to be able to afford it. So I'm going to be sharing some ways that you can afford to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'll even give you some advice that I use to be able to come home from my corporate career. So I think before we even talk about the financial aspect of affording to be a stay-at-home mom, you really need to take a step back and figure out why you want to be a stay-at-home mom. Is it truly that you want to be able to spend more time with your kids, rearing them and spending time with them on a more continual basis? Or is it that you just want to come home? Okay, you got to figure out what your why is, and that'll determine whether or not you're going to be able to dedicate and do the work necessary in order to make that desired goal happen. But let's talk about the finances. Now, the reality is that in some cases, it is actually more beneficial to stay home than it is to go to work. With the rising cost of daycare, you could literally be putting your whole check into childcare as opposed to just staying home and saving on that expense, because either way it's going to be net zero. So in that case, you need to figure out a way to be able to financially manage everything else in your home without the additional income that you may be bringing in after the daycare expenses come out. So let's talk about it. So first things first, you need to calculate what your household expenses are. So how much are you spending on a monthly basis to cover things like food, transportation, clothing, everything that you need to function as a family? How much is that costing you? You need to calculate what that number is, because you need that amount of income or more to be able to cover those expenses so that your family can still maintain function, right? You may have to sacrifice some things, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to be sure that the income coming into your household is enough to cover your expenses. Now, after you've calculated that number, you want to go in and see where you can reduce your expenses. So whether it's shopping or whatever the case is that you've been able to do on two incomes, you need to figure out how do you reduce those expenses. Maybe it's cutting out dining out. Maybe it's cutting a subscription. Whatever it is, figure out ways that you can reduce your expenses so that there is a smaller financial responsibility that you have to cover each month. The third thing that you want to do is eliminate debt. So in looking at your expenses that you have, include debt. What is the debt that you have that you could possibly get rid of as soon as possible? So maybe that's a car loan, maybe it's a student loan, maybe it's medical expenses, maybe it's credit card debt. Think about the debt that you can get rid of so that you can reduce your financial risk and your financial obligations that you have each month. Again, the idea is to reduce your expenses enough to be able to be covered by one income, and that you don't have to worry about not being able to cover your expenses. So you want to reduce those expenses, those day-to-day expenses, but then after that, you want to go in and look at what debt you can get rid of so that you have less of a financial obligation each month. After you've done those things, you want to then start saving up for emergencies and other medical expenses or other planned expenses. So if you are still working right now, you want to use that money to, one, reduce the income, then start paying off debt. And then as you're doing that, you want to also start putting money aside in your savings to cover emergencies. Because as you are reducing down to one income, you want to make sure that you have a buffer in there to cover and mitigate financial risk. So start putting money aside for, again, emergencies and then other planned expenses that you may have coming up. So whether that's Christmas that you want to go ahead and save for, or if it's buying kids school clothes, you want to use the money that you have coming in from your income, your job income right now, to put money aside for future expenses. So make sure that you are saving and planning for those ahead of time. Now, the fifth thing that you can do that's completely optional is actually start a home-based business. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean having physical operations within your home. It could be an online business. Now, I've made plenty of videos and have several blog posts that talk about how you can start a business as a mom. I'll leave a link to those resources in the description of this video for you to check out. Last but not least, one thing that you want to do before you become a stay-at-home mom is actually take care of all your medical exams and annual exams while you're still employed and have your own medical coverage if that's the case. So if you know that you're going to be coming home within the next year, go ahead and schedule those eye exams, those physicals, all those medical exams that you need. Go ahead and take care of those now while you may be on your employer's insurance and those things are covered and you don't have to worry about saving money or putting money aside for those to be handled. So I would definitely encourage you to get those expenses taken care of. Any major expenses, any major medical things, get those taken care of before you actually leave your career so that you don't have to worry about them once you come home. So here are some additional tips. You want to make sure that you are smart about your spending. So get on a budget so that you're making the best use of the money that is coming in once you're home. You want to be frugal. So you don't want to spend money recklessly or spend unnecessary dollars. Be frugal about how you manage your family's finances and the things within your home. And lastly, consult with a professional when it comes to taxes. This is going to have a tax implication on your family, so you want to make sure you consult with a professional to know how you need to adjust from a tax perspective so that you're not paying too much in taxes, but then you're also not owing anything as well. All right, so hopefully you found this video helpful. I will leave a link to a blog post that explains each of these things a lot more in depth in the description of this video, so you want to make sure you check that out. If you did find it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and leave your questions in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Now, if you want more mama and money tips, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.